Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Friday night's edition of Center Stage. I'm Kheri, Hines, your host. Having some technical difficulties tonight, but that's okay. Doing a show like this, you can expect that. Tonight, I'd like to say thank you all for joining us for what should be a very interesting show, and thank you for joining us each and every Friday night right here at Center Stage as we tackle the subjects that most talk shows shy away from. So before we begin, we want to remind you, get on the phone, call a friend, call a neighbor, call a coworker, call a family member, and tell them that Center Stage is about to discuss the topic, is it all about the fear factor? I repeat, is it all about the fear factor? The year of 2014 has been filled with all sorts of things that would cause the average person to want to lock themselves in their homes and never come out. But we know that fear, first of all, is not of God. So that said, when we've heard of ISIS threats and missing Nigerian girls, countless police killings of innocent people, we've seen missing commercial airplanes, we've seen commercial aircraft being shot down over war zones, we've seen riots, we've seen militarized police, we've seen martial law, we've seen Ebola and E68. All of this, and it's just October of 2014. The question is it all by design? Is our government trying to scare us to the point that we'll say yes to the New World Order, that we will be begging them to save us from the next big boogeyman? And I'm not making light of any of the things that I just mentioned. However, I question the timing. Why now? Why has 2014 been the year of so many odd occurrences? And I know most Christians will say that this is a sign that the world is coming to an end. And I get that part, and in many ways I do agree. I just question when the Bible spoke of it, it never told us how these things would come to be. So are they, in many cases, man-manipulated? Are they caused because man is causing these types of things to happen? So that's what we're looking at tonight. Is it all about the fear factor? And before you just blow it off and say, all of these things are serious and there's no way that they could have been manipulated, think again. And we're going to try to break down in many ways tonight how that possibly could be. Because when you look at Ebola, many people say Ebola was made in a dish in a laboratory in Atlanta. When you look at E68, where did it come from? Just all of a sudden it pops on the scene. I think the first case was in Massachusetts, and now it's spreading across the country. When you look at Ebola, back to Ebola, couldn't we very easily shut that down by stopping commercial flights coming out of areas where there's outbreaks until it's been basically brought under control? So many things we'll look at tonight that you wonder, why are we even considering it to be crises when they could be easily handled if the right steps were taken at the appropriate time. And so tonight, just bear with me as we go through each of these and look at, is it about the fear factor? And are we getting ready to enter into a time where we see FEMA camps, where we see people being quarantined based on their temperatures being too high or because they have respiratory issues? Are we looking at a time in which, plagues are going to be popping up from everywhere, but they're going to be plagues that were man-made? That's what we're going to be looking at tonight. Let's just get on the phone line. I see AJ's with me this evening. Good evening, AJ. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Kheri. How you doing?
I'm good, AJ. A little concerned, but I'm okay. You heard the intro. What do you think?
Well, you left out ISIS and beheadings and a couple other things, but I think I'm with you, but I really think it's more about the upcoming elections because it's more important that the political powers be in position to make the changes they want to make at this particular juncture, because see, there's a lot of things they're still trying to still trying to squash Obamacare, Texas is still not, accepting the additional funds for Medicare, so Texas is still the number one state in the nation as far as children without medical, not having medical, not being able to seek medical attention. So I think it's a lot of things involved. So I think the fear factor is just to keep the media buzzing about something instead of these politicians not even talking about what they want to talk about, all the illegal things politicians are doing, and how some of them should be up on charges, and they are up on charges, but nobody's pursuing them. I'm saying there's a lot of other things out there, so I think it's just a smokescreen.
A smokescreen. And, the thing is, it's so easy to panic. If you look at it, and basically if you're someone elderly or someone who lives alone, or if you're someone who scares easily, any of these things can just send you over the edge. But I would say, to anybody who's, really gripped with fear, hold on to your mind. You're gonna need it. So I would take each crisis for what it was worth, and I would evaluate it and do my own research before I allow myself to be gripped with fear, which is what we do each and every week here. We look at all of these situations as they're occurring, and, when you look at them and you really do your research, one thing I find out, AJ, most of them don't make any sense. Ebola makes no sense to me.
Well, I'm saying, like the first show we did, that, it was discovered that the same strain that was in Sierra Leone and a lot of places was the same strain that was created in Atlanta, which never came out, has never been spoken of again. And I was saying that was why the initial doctor was flown back to Atlanta, because they had something to cure the strain of Ebola. And I also said at that time that until a common person got it in a different area, why do you think they sent somebody to Nebraska? It happened in Dallas. They sent people from Dallas to Atlanta and to Maryland. So to me, the logical thing to do was to bring the CDC, bring the necessary doctors here where it was, so it wouldn't spread anymore.
You know what I have a problem with? Now, I don't know if anybody else is paying attention. It seems to me that aid workers and doctors and nurses are getting better treatment than the other people. Now, Mr. Duncan laid in a hospital bed for, a week, was it about a week, AJ? And nobody got him out of here and sent him to Atlanta or Nebraska or, to get better care. And they gave him the medicine, and 2 days later he was dead. But, I don't know if anybody else is paying attention, but the doctor, he's fine. The AIDS worker that was over there with him, she's fine. And the nurse that, contracted it for him, the first nurse, I think she's Vietnamese, she appears to be doing fine. And the black nurse, they just, took her out of here and took her to, did they take her to Nebraska?
No, they took the black nurse to Atlanta.
To Atlanta. Okay, and so, why is it that no one thought to take Mr. Duncan to Atlanta or Nebraska? That just doesn't make sense. And, why haven't we shut down all, commercial flights coming out of, West Africa where there's outbreaks? It's just not making sense. And so, AJ, if it's just the remotest possibility that it could be airborne, why are we still bringing flights out of West Africa?
Well, I'm saying that was what was discussed in the little hearings they had. But my thing is this, that it's hard. They don't have the necessary screening in West Africa, supposedly. But then they don't have the screening in the United States on people. Because I think when you fly from Africa, you might fly to England first, and then from England to somewhere in New York or Florida, or somewhere on the East Coast, and then from the East Coast, wherever you're going here. And usually the flights are varied that way. So it's kind of hard to decide how somebody can get from all those places with their passport and where they're from, and not be screened or detected properly. I think Duncan was just one of those cases, because I'm still thinking that Duncan, they never said where he flew into the United States. They just say he flew from somewhere to Dallas. and I'm saying flights don't go that way. So I'm trying to figure out, did they not mention the other flight on purpose? And was he flown here?
Did he lie about it, are you saying, or did they just not check?
No, I don't think he lied about anything, but I'm saying when he got here, I'm saying they only talked about the last flight he took from wherever to Dallas. They didn't talk about the other flight. But also, you know, to me, you know, if America can do the Tuskegee, you know, experiment, can do the blankets to the Indians, to do all this other stuff, so everybody thinks it's a far-fetched idea that this would be a plot to ensure some corporation make money with the Ebola vaccine that's probably coming out soon. But I don't really see it being far-fetched, because to me that's the traditional way that America does things.
And you know, and the thing is, I hate the term conspiracy theorist, but you know what? I think if you take that word out of the equation, because a lot of people will be very dismissive, you know, when they hear something that they've never heard before, and they'll say, oh, that's just somebody, you know, all these conspiracy theorists. I think you really need to re-examine that word, because most of the time now the person who's labeled a conspiracy theorist is the person who's most on point. And I think it's just too much that's not making sense. I agree with you. The Tuskegee syphilis experiment was cruel, you know. I mean, and that happened in my lifetime. And so I think we really need to stop and examine the fact that there's 4,400 people dead, and it was just in a matter of months. And so we got to go back and look at, like, how in the world did 4,400 people die, and why are they all people of color? And if 4,400 Caucasian people had died, would things be done differently? And I think they would. AJ, do you agree with that?
Oh, definitely, because, you know, usually if something's happening in somewhere in Europe or to any of the Caucasian regions, the other countries, everybody steps in early. They step in early to stop it. So it's just like the girls, when the girls disappeared, it took forever for anybody to act like it was something that they could actually, you know, help with or try and recover them. You know, and then when it started, and there's 7,000 people, see, my problem is 7,000 people in Africa that are said to have Ebola. But they fly to one doctor that got it back to America and healed him, but none of those processes are being sent to Africa to try and heal them.
See,
so,
you know, go ahead, finish your thought.
No, I'm saying it's like we will help whoever in our borders, and not use that same strength to help any other countries. Just like when the hurricane was in Haiti and all the things that was happening in Haiti, it took them a while to actually send support there and send support in other regions to where it's mostly people of African descent.
I agree. And you know, the thing is, you have to just really stop sometimes. And I just have this equation that I do in my head. If it's not making any sense, then I have to do the math. And I have to do the math that 4,400 people of color are dead, and nobody still has a grip on how to fix it. And, you know, I keep hearing from the CDC, I keep hearing from people who are, you know, experts in the field of, you know, these type of outbreaks. All I'm hearing is it could possibly be airborne. What the heck do you mean this late in the game with 4,400 people dead, it could be airborne? That's crazy. Somebody knows if it's airborne or not. It's not a matter of 4,400 people later you're wondering how did they get it. And so I think I'm just tired of the BS at this point. I'm tired of wanting to believe that I'm being told the truth. Now I'm deciding to find the answers for myself. And in that, I decided, listen, believe none of what you hear, half of what you see, and the only way you're going to get the right answer is to do your own research. I mean, I take nothing for granted. It's even hard to watch the news now or read a newspaper because I can see now between the lines like I couldn't see a year ago or 2 years ago. And so I can see now when they say things like, we're not sure. It could be airborne. That's AKA it is airborne. We're just not telling you yet. And so we got to learn to be more discerning, and look at things for what they are because, I'll be honest with you, and I told someone this week, I've never met a stupid African. I haven't. I mean, there's some very intelligent people, and typically they speak at least three languages, their own dialect, typically French and typically English, the ones that I've met. These people are mostly college educated, those that can get educated, and those people over there have decided something's wrong. We're not going to take that vaccine because the only people that are dying, per the West African people, they're saying are the people who took the shot. So does that say there's reason for concern or pause? I would say yes. You agree with that? If something's wrong, if the only people if they're correct, the only people that died are the ones that took the shot or whatever the medicine was.
Well, look at it like this. When you go into a region and, AIDS was there spreading and, people supposedly supporting, but the people that they gave medicine to, a lot of them, it didn't work, or whatever it was didn't work. So they became fearful of foreigners in their country giving them any type of shots for anything. So it wasn't just that. It was whether it was a mosquito bite or something, because a lot of people die from mosquitoes, But they were fearful of any doctor giving them anything because they saw the results of what happened previously. So then you have people in fear of the medicine that they're bringing.
Well, I think this is just based on just specifically the issue with Ebola. I mean, if you go on the web, there's people from West Africa who are saying we want to alert the West that there's a problem here, that, the only people that died are the people that took the medicine. And so a lot of them won't even let, AIDS workers from the West, come in. They're like, we don't want you here. Get out of here. And so my thing is this. I don't tell anybody else what to think, but I say you do need to think for yourself. And I think you need to examine the fact that, and I'm trying to choose my words very carefully, Mr. Duncan went to a hospital complaining of symptoms of Ebola and was turned away. Then when he returned to the hospital, they gave him something and he died. That's all I know. And so, to me, that isn't good. I mean, because it wasn't like the CDC wasn't called. It wasn't like, there wasn't a handle on how to fix it by the time Mr. Duncan went to the hospital, because the doctor and the AIDS worker had already been cured of Ebola by the time Mr. Duncan went into the hospital. And so I just say that's just very suspect. And I was reading today, there was a symposium on Ebola, and what the guy said about how it could potentially spread, with someone getting on a plane was just absolutely mind-boggling to me, and again makes me wonder why in the world do we still have flights coming out of those countries. And this was the example he gave. He said, imagine just one person carrying the Ebola virus was to get onto a plane. And let's just say hypothetically it was airborne. It's hypothetically, we don't know, but hypothetically Ebola can be airborne. So he said, imagine that, first of all, and then imagine in an airplane all of that air is recycled. So that's likely to infect every single person on the plane. And then he said, then all of those people are going to get off at their destination, and they're going to disperse and go on to their next airport and on to the next plane. And then he said less than 21 days later, there would be, or could be rather, an outbreak in every corner of the world. And this isn't me saying this. This was said at a symposium for Ebola this week. And when I saw that, I thought, well, isn't that potentially what could have happened if Mr. Duncan and the nurse who got on the plane had Ebola, and Ebola is hypothetically airborne? I mean, is that mind-blowing to you, AJ? Because it was mind-blowing to me.
No, I'm saying it's just a point of logic. I'm saying now the other lady that was, the other nurse that was, now there's another lady that was on a cruise. The cruise ship, they wouldn't let the cruise ship come on the borders of where it was supposed to dock. They denied the cruise ship border, so the cruise ship couldn't even board her. So they sent a helicopter to get her off the ship. And this is today. And I can't think of where she owned. Huh?
What was it said?
Now, today I'm saying, I think there's another nurse or somebody else that was in contact with somebody that had Ebola, that I'm thinking she was a nurse because she called the CDC and they said it was all right for her to travel. But she was on a cruise ship. And the cruise ship was supposed to dock on some coast somewhere. And they denied the cruise ship. They said the cruise ship can't dock there because the lady was on board. So they're actually sending a helicopter to retrieve her from the boat, her and the husband.
I'm not even mad at them for doing that. I think somebody decided that they didn't want to cause an outbreak, and they did the right thing. Now, the question is, all those people that were on the boat with her, shouldn't they now be quarantined for 21 days?
It's something has to be done, because I'm saying it's definitely, I think they did the right thing. Because it's hard to see. Well, I don't think everybody was taking it as serious as it is initially.
Mm-hmm.
Because just like the lady, just like the nurse that went to Cleveland to plan her wedding and whatever, and came back, and now I think that's the one that's sent to Atlanta. But she called the CDC also, and CDC said it was all right for her to fly.
I mean, to me, that reeks of something just ain't right. I mean, the CDC should maybe the main people that proceed with caution and tell her, please don't board a flight because, you could potentially infect other people. That just sounds very, very suspect to me. I mean, I'm not getting that. I can't wrap my mind around that. Another thing I can't wrap my mind around, to piggyback on what you just said, basically, the World Health Organization has said that Ebola is basically, it's like a 911. I mean, it's like, something we should all be concerned about. Well, that being said, Liberian health care workers are basically on strike. And they're on strike because, guess what? They don't have the simple things that they need. And I shouldn't say simple, basic things they need to care for people with Ebola. Basically, I understand they don't have gloves. They don't have masks. They don't have what are those, goggles? They don't have the goggles. They don't have the gowns. They don't have bleach. So why would you ask a person to put their lives on the line and go in to care for a sick person, even if they have taken the oath to help the sick? But why would you ask them to do that and you can't provide them with the basics that they need to take care of these sick people? And, one thing I find strange about that, and someone made a note of it, if you can send an iPhone across the world in one day, you mean you can't get these people, gloves, bleach, goggles, mask? That just doesn't sound right. And I don't know if y'all are paying attention, but to me that sounds like, you just being reckless and putting these people's lives on the line if you ask them to go in and care for these people if you're not going to give them what they need to work in. You agree with that, AJ?
I'm saying, my thing is, I see people donate millions of dollars for pet shelters and all the other things because we really care for the pets, for the whales, for the dolphins, whatever. And nobody is willing to send any of the necessary items they need over there, even as a donation, even some billionaire, because they're spending money on everything else. but not to save human life.
And that's the crazy part. I mean, it makes no sense that, over here in the States we're saying, we're panicking and we don't want to get Ebola. Well, the quickest way to stop Ebola is to help the people that have it already. I mean, if it's already an outbreak, wouldn't the safest and the quickest way be to help them stamp it out over there so that it doesn't spread any further? I mean, this is just crazy. And just to piggyback off that a little bit more, they're talking about 80% of the Liberian health workers basically don't have what they need, 80%. So that means that, I understand Liberia only had like 50 doctors, like in 2006, 50 doctors. So you're going to make everybody over there sick? I mean, really? The caring for the sick, so then who's going to take care of the sick? So it just it speaks that something is very wrong. And what I found odd is that Firestone Tire and Rubber Company has a location over there. And I understand that in Harbor, which was named after Mr. Firestone and his wife, I understand that they are over there in a town called Harbor, Liberia, and they were so concerned about their people, their workers, that they actually put together a facility, a treatment facility, to handle and quarantine those that were workers who got sick. And guess what? They have got it down to zero. Now, if Firestone can put the money up to keep their workers safe and out of harm's way, you mean we can't do it? You mean the government of Liberia can't do it? I mean, the government of Guinea or the government of Sierra Leone cannot do it? Something's wrong. So, I don't know if you got a question or a comment. I'm sorry, I'm rattling tonight, but y'all, it just really troubling to my spirit, if you will, that I don't proclaim to be a rocket scientist. I don't claim to be the smartest person or the smartest apple on the tree. I don't. But it's just some things that, in my opinion, just fall under common sense. And a lot of the things we're going to talk about tonight, if you just put them under the common sense category, why are they getting out of control? Why are they being allowed to get out of control? Is it all intentional? That's what we're talking about tonight. If you just tuned in, you come center stage. We're talking about the topic, is it all about the fear factor? Or is there an agenda to scare the crap out of all of us so that we just say, listen, whatever y'all want to do, wherever y'all want us to sign, we'll just sign them. We're just begging y'all to stop this boogeyman from jumping out from behind every, door and every tree and every bush. We're just afraid, and I think that's what we're looking at, because if this is just October of 2014, and we've seen all kinds of things. We've seen, commercial airplanes just disappear. Nobody tell us where they went. We've seen missing Nigerian girls. We've seen an influx of illegal aliens just coming across the border with no consequences. We've seen countless cases of police shootings that turn fatal. I mean, we've seen martial law. We've seen riots. We're just seeing all types of situations like never seen before. And if anybody's paying attention, we're not getting an answer to anything. It's like the missing Nigerian girls are just still missing. The missing plane, still missing. Police shooting people and not having any consequences, still happening. Illegal still coming across the border, no consequences. And so what I'm noticing is all of these things are occurring and nothing is getting fixed. Let's go to the phone lines. I think I see P. Yankee on the line. Good evening, Mr. P. Yankee. How are you doing? Welcome to the stage. Hello, open P. Yankee phone. Good evening, P. Yankee. How are you?
Fine. How you doing?
I'm good. Are they trying to scare us to death?
Pardon me?
Are they trying to scare us to death?
Well, There is reasons to be concerned.
Mm.
To what extent it is, well, I don't know. I heard you mention about the nurses going on strike. I think they gave them a raise in pay. They receive $800 a month from the $300 it was, which is good.
Wait a minute,
The
they gave them a
supplies.
raise, but wait, back up. They gave them a raise, but they just give them any gowns and gloves and bleach?
Well, I haven't heard about that,
Okay.
but I mean that shouldn't be no problem getting those materials. I don't know why there is.
Oh, yeah, you do, Candy. I mean, you can't fight an outbreak unless you got the proper tools or supplies to fight it. And if they don't have it, it's got to be a reason. It's not like they didn't see it.
Well, I know that. I don't understand why come this not they don't have it. You know, I was kind of saddened with Liberia anyway. That's one country I haven't ever paid too much attention to it. Some people like the leader, Miss Johnson. Some don't, but they need to get a handle on it. The UN said that. I read an article in the UN made a statement. I don't know if it's true or not that they should have a handle on this by January. Which would be nice.
If 4,400 people can die in a matter of just some weeks, it seems. Let me see what it is. Let me get this right.
Well, it started in March, really.
Right, but they said 4,400 deaths due to Ebola, and 40% of those cases happened in the past 3 weeks. 40% of 4,400 have occurred in the past 3 weeks. So imagine by January what it will be.
Well, you have to see what happens.
Oh,
it'll be more becoming here. If it's the hurricane season popping up, it's going to blow winds from West Africa to the U.S., and it'll be interesting to see what happens. Hopefully everything goes okay and gets better.
You know what, Pinky, the thing is, I think is really crazy is for us to sit back and say, well, you know what, we're going to sit back and see what happens. I think we need to rise up like the people of Ferguson and say, listen, we got a problem here and we're not taking it anymore, because if we don't do something, we're going to be sitting ducks. That's what I think. I think the people should demand that Liberia and Guinea and Sierra Leone get the shipments of colloidal silver that we talked about. I think the people should demand that Liberia get the gloves and the bleach and the goggles and the gowns. I think that should happen.
Well, they should contact Nigeria and ask Nigeria for assistance if she's not already given them, because they seem to do a pretty good job with these things.
I guess I'm confused. If you got all the diamonds and the minerals over there, why do you need anybody to give you anything? I mean, where's the money going?
Well, you need the expertise.
Oh, here we go. Okay. Well, you know what? I don't know where to go with that, because, first of all, I don't even know why. I guess I don't even understand. Let me go back to the phone lines, because I'm going to start rambling, and I'm not going to get to 626-488. Good evening, 626-488. You're on center stage.
Hey, how you guys doing? Bianchi and the host.
Hey, Joe Nick Bone.
No, this is Covina Man.
Oh, Covina Man, how you doing?
Good. How you guys doing? I guess I'm gonna have to be the anti-cynical caller that calls into the show. And for me, I like to, when I pay attention to the whole Ebola thing, I'm looking for the facts, and not so much, the hyperbolic, fear flaming of the fans. I look for the facts, and so, as I watch, what's going on, like everybody else, you examine why did the thing spread in Texas, right? Why did it spread in Texas and it didn't spread at the hospital, when they brought the doctors over from Africa and whatever? There's a difference of why, it spread there and it didn't spread to the, right? So there's a difference. The thing is, you have to look at hospitals or places like Texas They're very much anti-government regulations. They don't have safety standards. They don't have, certain regulations. They're very much anti-regulation. So, and they don't have, unions for the nurses. So when the nurse comes to work, those standards that the nurses in Texas have is different than the ones that they have at the hospitals where they brought the patients in from Africa. So that's why they were complaining. Oh, we don't have the certain gowns, and we don't have this, and we don't have that. They don't regulate that stuff in Texas. They're small government, right? So they don't care about all that stuff. It's just that there's consequences when you don't care about that stuff. The consequences is you come to work one day and you catch Ebola.
So you think so? I guess let me understand you say. So you think that once the CDC and the health department and all those other people were notified that Mr. Duncan was in the hospital and he had Ebola, that the hospital still didn't follow the proper protocol to handle Ebola? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yes, because, we don't have a system in America where when you show up to work, you don't call the White House to find out what to do. You show up to work and you do your job. Texas is a state. They're independent. They don't ask Washington, D.C. what to do. Remember, they're anti-government. They states' rights, anti-government. That's the way they are, right? Everybody knows that. So they don't have regulations. They don't have safety procedures. In California, where I live, we have Cal OSHA. I'm at work. I don't work in that field. Yet I got some emails today about Ebola procedures. This is what we do, blah, 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 right? They don't have that in Texas, right? They're anti-government. They don't want the government to tell private industry or private hospital how to prevent stuff. They don't do that. So when Ebola comes to a place like Texas, as opposed to California, if it came to California, we have procedures. We have safety. We have regulations. It won't spread like that. That's different over there. So
I'm sorry. Kheri, I'm sorry, but that's completely wrong. I'm going with
the facts. So bring me some facts and send me on wrong, bro.
No, but I'm saying Texas is not the backwater town that you're saying it is. Or the city that you're saying it is. It's
a banana republic.
No, but let me finish. No, I'll let you finish. I'm saying.
Okay, go ahead, bro.
We do have OSHA. We do have OSHA. We do have all the other things here in Texas, and we do have a lot of regulations to follow. See, what you're saying is they didn't want that's the little political plot that you're talking about, where they didn't want to get the additional funds for Medicare and Medicaid and get the additional funds that they were subsidizing for Obamacare. But that has nothing to do with what we're talking about now. Texas has OSHA and has all the other regulations because that's initially what they said is the nurse didn't follow protocol. But once she got healthy, and she told her mother she did follow protocol. She had, whatever she was supposed to wear, she had it on. Got it? I don't know. Like they were saying, they keep saying this potentially could be airborne, but nobody really knows, or nobody's really saying. We're not for sure.
So the thing when people reach in their pocket or pull out their butt, if something's airborne, that's not facts, right? So we don't know that information is fact. If people just say, I don't know this, and because they don't know something, they fill in the blank and think that means that it's something. They think if I don't know X, Y, and Z, that means it must be X, Y, and Z. That's not the way the science works. So, when people do that, they just being non-scientific.
Well, let me ask you this, Kavita, man. How did 4,400 people die or 40% of 4,400 people die in 3 weeks if it ain't airborne? You think that all of those people in the last 3 weeks...
you asked the question.
Let me finish.
Okay, go ahead.
In the last 3 weeks, I think every corner of the world has heard of Ebola. And that said, the West African people especially. So you think in the last 3 weeks, the West African people were so negligent that they were just going around, coming in contact with people's, body fluids when they knew that these body fluids from these people with Ebola was infectious? Are you serious? You really believe that?
So do you have any facts, or this is just a question you're asking?
That's a question. That's just a question.
Okay, that's it. Yeah, I don't have the answer to that, right? So if I'm going by the only facts that I have is on the table, I don't know any other evidence. I don't have any other evidence that says Ebola is airborne. There is no information I can punch up on my computer that says that. So I don't know, right?
Okay.
I'm only going by what I know is the facts that have been revealed so far. That's the only thing that we have to work with. Now, if we turn on the TV, when we turn on TV Saturday morning and they say something new, we got a wholly different facts on the table we can discuss. But as far as I can see right now, I can only go by the information that's on the table. And that information on the table says it's a contact. It spreads by contact. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me ask you this. You come into a room right now and someone tells you that person over there has Ebola. What are you going to do?
Stay out the room, right?
Are you going to what?
I'm going to stay out the room.
See? That says to me that you think it must be airborne. I rest my case.
No, I don't know what I don't. That doesn't mean that I think that it's airborne. That you just see that's the type of logic that people run with. I didn't say it was airborne. You just assumed that I think it's airborne. I didn't say that. You asked me what would I do if a person was in a room with Ebola. See, that's how people get screwed up. I think that's how people live in that faith-based mentality, man, with no facts.
Well, I'm just asking, what are you fleeing for? If you don't believe it's airborne based on the fact that you haven't heard or read anything that says it is airborne, what are you fleeing for just because they point to you and point a person out in the room and say they have Ebola? What are you fleeing for if you don't believe it's airborne?
I don't want the person to sneeze on me. I don't want the person to cough on me. I don't know where that person has touched. I don't know anything about it. I just know you in a room where the person has Ebola, I would leave. That doesn't mean it's airborne.
Okay. So that
don't make any sense. That don't make any sense whatsoever.
No, it does make sense. I would think if I'm in a room and it's not close quarters and someone points to me and say the person across the room over there has Ebola, why would I think that I need to worry about them sneezing on me if they're across the room? They're across the room. Why would they sneeze on me?
Have you ever seen a slow motion close up picture of a sneeze? Have you ever seen that?
I have, and I've never seen one come across the room. But I'm sure
it goes way across the room. A sneeze can go right across a room.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna leave that right there. Okay, Mr. Camino Man, any other comments you want to make before I move on?
That's it. I turn into this show and I hear people. I don't know. You don't have any experts. You get all these crazy wackadoo people on there to just talk to each other. I don't understand it.
Let me ask you this, Camino Man. You know what? And it's not for the lack. Let me put this out there. It's not for the lack of trying. But what I found out is all the experts aren't talking. So when you call the CDC and you call the health department and you call, people who say that they're, experts in the field, and nobody wants to talk, what do? Okay. So don't even put it out there. Center Stage goes for experts, and she can get them. We get them. So the fact nobody's talking, trust me, ain't nobody talking. Okay.
Well, I'll see people on TV every day and on the radio and the NPR and there's people out there talking. It just that the thing is they're giving people the information that they don't want to hear. I think the reason why there's a good reason why people love fear. They love it. It's dramatic. People love that. That's fine. I like it too. But I think the reason why is people are in this cynical state. People are anti-government. People want to believe there's a boogeyman behind every corner and there's a conspiracy behind the other corner. And Ebola just fills the void until I guess something better comes along.
Wow. You know what? I'm glad you called early on. I'm because you woke me up. I think I really am on the right track now. If you said what you just said and you really believe what you just, I really believe you're talking to be talking. But if you really believe what you just said, I got a lot of work to do. So you woke me up till I really got to get really on my job, because if you believe that,
we're wackadoos though, Kheri.
Say what?
Yes, sir.
We're wackadoos just talking.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of wackadoodles that come on this show.
Oh, on my show?
Yeah, on your show. I've heard the last month, I've heard something about some Georgia Stones, and you keep on going about this crazy Gender 21 crap, and now airborne Ebola, and you have no information. I'm like,
but you know,
somebody on here with the facts.
First off, nobody said it was airborne Ebola. We was talking about.
She just did.
The expert on TV. Sir. No, wait, let me finish. She was talking about the expert on TV that said they didn't know. They weren't sure if it was airborne, but they were acting like it was. And that's the point she was making. If they say it's not, or they assimilate that it could be, the thing to think is that it is. I'm saying, so she wasn't saying it was airborne. It was like, we're going to treat it as though it is, just like you said that you wouldn't go in the room as though it was airborne, but you didn't like that analogy, so you the wackadoo conversation.
What's your name, sir?
My name is A.J. Houston.
A.J. Hugh?
Houston.
A.J. Hugh.
Like the city?
Houston. A.J. Houston. Let's ask the host, Kheri. Is Ebola airborne?
You know what? You know what? I'm going to be as clear on this as I can, so we move on. What I say is, anytime people who are in authority use language like "we're not sure, but it could be airborne," "we're not sure, but we may find out down the line that it's airborne," when they start using language like that, typically it's to cover themselves. So whenever all hell breaks loose, they can say, "Well, we did say it could have been." So that's my logic on whether or not I think it's airborne or not. Okay.
If you had to pick a yes or no to settle the argument between A.J. Houston and myself, would it be a yes or a no?
You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. Because
first it wasn't an argument. I was just telling you what she said because I didn't think you listened well.
He doesn't. And you know what? I'm not going to even go here with you. Convenient man, thank you so much for calling in tonight.
Okay. Thanks. I rest my case, brother. All right.
Okay. You're a very interesting caller, as always. But anyway, to be clear on Convenient man, it's always callers like that to try to confuse people. I call them provocateurs. And so Convenient Man has been listening to Center Stage for a long, long time, and he knows that when we talk about subjects, we're typically on point. I mean, that's like with a 99.9% success rate. So that was totally provocateurish, what he just did, and I thank you very much for your call because it lets us know that we got work to do. And if we got callers like that putting out misinformation, that means we got to work harder to put out more information. So I'm just going to leave that on that. But anyway, so as far as I'm concerned, Ebola, I'm just going to close out on this. As far as I'm concerned, if they're having a symposium on Ebola, talking about, the seriousness of it, and these are people, Dr. Osterholm, he's the director of the Center for Infectious Disease Research and Policy with the University of Missouri. And, if he has reasons for concern, I think we do too. Despite what Mr. Convenient Man said, I think we got great reasons. I think he said, and this is Dr. Osterholm, there have been more human-to-human transmissions in the past 4 months than most likely occurred in the last 500 to 1,000 years. And we're talking about Ebola. So if there has been that many transmissions in 4 months, I ask Mr. Convenient Man again, is it airborne? You decide. So that's what was said at the symposium this week about Ebola. And so, there's reason for concern, and I'm not going to even tell anybody that I'm not concerned. And if Mr. Convenient Man is telling you that he'll clear a room because somebody across the room, not even in close quarters, but across the room, has Ebola because he's afraid they might sneeze. Hello. But anyway, I'm not going to let him work me up. I'm not going to do that tonight. That's provocateur, to say the least. But, again, tonight, if you just joined us, you come center stage, we're talking about, is it all about the fear factor? That's what we're talking about. Is it all about the fear factor? The year 2014 has been riddled with all types of odd occurrences, like from Ebola to E68, illegal aliens just walking across the border without suffering any consequences. We're talking about just countless police shootings or police incidents that have turned fatal. We're talking about missing Nigerian girls that, have never turned up. I think we're still at a count of 219 that are still allegedly missing. We're talking about a Malaysian Airlines flight MH370. Where is it? I mean, all these months later, we still don't know where that plane is. We're talking about the other Malaysian plane that was shot down over a war zone near Ukraine. How is it that a commercial airliner is directed to fly over a war zone? Isn't that what air traffic controllers do? And I have a friend who studied to be an air traffic controller in college, and she dated a person who actually is currently an air traffic controller, and we discussed this. It just doesn't happen. An air traffic controller would have to fall asleep at the wheel to direct somebody over a war zone. No one has ever said anything about who the air traffic controller was that steered the plane into the war zone. Is anybody paying attention to that? Nobody's ever, nobody's ever been held accountable. In all of these situations, nobody is ever held accountable. So that's what we're talking about tonight. Why is that? Why is that in all of these situations, people missing, people coming up dead, flights disappearing, these are bodies. Ebola, people dying from E68. These are actual, people, that are coming up dead, in situations where police are fatally killing people, but nobody's standing trial for murder. Nobody is being indicted. It's just all a wash. I mean, is anybody paying attention to that but me? It's all a wash.
But Kheri, one thing about D68, I was like, okay, so if it's up to number 68, where's the other 67?
Well, that's a good question. E68 stands for enterovirus 68 or E68. We know it as COVID.
But I'm saying it's number 68, so there had to be 67 other items that was created to get to 68. I'm saying, where are they and where were they created? That's my question. You don't just come up with 68 just out of...
I would say that they are to come, probably. They're just going to start popping up and with all these numbers. I mean, I don't know. That's a very good question.
Because everything's made in progression. Everything's made in progression. You start with one.
Well, I don't know why they took it. Well, you know what and this is my theory, unless you say hypothetically, if based on the Georgia Guidestones, and we talked about that a couple of weeks ago, if you want to go back and look at the archives and check out that show. The Georgia Guidestones is several tall granite stones that are on a hilltop in Elbert County, Georgia. And basically, allegedly, these were placed there for to be leaders who basically have 10 commandments in which they think should be how the world is run. And number one on the Guidestones is that the population should be reduced to under 500,000 people. 500 million people, which would be 9/10 of the world population. So let's just say the Georgia Guidestones is what we're looking at tonight. And all of these ways are ways in which people can be depopulated. Okay, that said, AJ, if you're looking at all of these situations, people are dying. And no accountability, nobody is paying for it. And all of these situations are people are just disappearing. And they're disappearing in large numbers. 4,400 people, 4,400 people and 40% of them died in the last 3 weeks. That's pretty staggering. I mean, if you start basically seeing people die off like that, I'm sorry, that's just like breathtaking to me. I mean, where does that happen?
Sure.
And so,
on CNN today. On CNN today, I was watching, and one on the ticker tape on the bottom was saying that there is I think in Nigeria or wherever they said, or it might be Liberia somewhere, where they only have 5,000 body bags, and they say they would need another 85,000 in 6 months.
So like mass graves. But no, it would be Ebola. You can't even put them in the ground.
That was the whole sentence. That was the whole sentence. Wasn't nothing after that. And I was looking. I was like, I called my son and I said, "Look at this. They say they got 5,000 now in the whole place, and they probably need about 85,000 in 6 months." And I'm like, how can you make that estimation without some projection on what's happening or how it's going to happen?
Exactly. I mean, and it's just so much. It's just so much to look at that doesn't make any sense. Basically, they were talking about the strain of Ebola in the Congo is different from the strain of Ebola in Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Liberia. Now, how is it that we got different strains out there? And this was a clincher. They said that the strain of Ebola in the Congo, they said basically that was tracked to the fact that a pregnant mother contracted it when she ate bushmeat. Bushmeat. I don't even know what bushmeat is. Sorry, somebody got to help me. I don't even know what bushmeat is. But allegedly, that's how the strain in the Congo got started. So how do they define how the strain in Liberia got started? It's just too many questions and not enough answers, y'all. It's just too many questions and just too many blanks. And you're talking about talking to experts and you're getting blanks. No answers or answers that don't make any sense. Is it all about fear? I mean, because I think
what does a wackadoo, Kheri? Kheri, what does a wackadoo?
What happened?
What is a wackadoo?
I don't know. What is it?
I don't know. I was curious because that's what he said. He said you have a bunch of wackadoos on, and I guess he was talking about me for a second. I just want to know what a wackadoo was. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
You know what? Convener Man has two problems every time he calls into the show. Either he talks about white supremacy, or I'm not doing something right. So that's his soapbox, and he stands on it every time he calls into this show. So I don't pay much attention to Convener Man, but I don't know. Maybe he has a problem with the host. I don't know, but every time he calls into the show, it's something I'm not doing right. So that's okay, and I can live with that. But, let's look at the virus E68 again, though, AJ. That virus is affecting kids. And that's where I was going with when AJ cut me off a second ago. Let's just say the Georgia Guidestones is real. And let's just say there are some elitists who have put those stones up there who are sending messages to the rest of us that they're going to reduce the population to under 500 million people. Okay, let's just say that's true. Well, one thing you would do if you were reducing the population, you would want to balance it, right? You wouldn't want to kill off all the old people or all the young people or all the women or all the men. So are these different means of killing us all to balance it off in its own way? Because we know police shootings typically are killing black men. We know that this virus so far has taken out only African-American people. So are we looking at, this E68 killing children? Is it balancing it off? That may sound strange, but I have been really thinking about that. And I was like, if you were going to do something like that, you wouldn't want to just go and kill off one whole group because that would be too obvious. So you'd have to balance it off so that you don't look like you're actually doing it. Does that make sense, or is that like overthinking it?
No, that's logical. But my main question is called 68. So I don't know if that's. I don't know how many. I can't imagine how many numbers they've added to the to the chart with elements on it. I don't know how many elements on there. So I don't know if it's 6 and 8 or it's 68 or whatever. But I'm trying to figure out how they get to 68 if there's not 67 other ones. But I agree, because when I first saw that, I text you and say, hey, what is this?
The thing is, And Casino Man, I'm going to say one more thing about him, and I'm going to leave him alone tonight. We did try to get gas. Anybody that knows Center Stage knows I will go after anybody who's an expert on a subject. But one thing I found out, this was the one subject nobody wanted to talk about. People had articles out there where they called the Liberian government and told them, that, Ebola was man-made, but when you call them, they didn't want to talk about it, or someone else was, on a radio show claimed to be an expert. I called them and said, hey, listen, come on my show and say that. But all of a sudden it's like, we don't want to talk about it anymore. And so I think it's either fear, because the last couple of weeks, the Center Stage has talked about this, we have definitely come under attack. The first week, my boards were completely blank. I was completely kicked off my computer, couldn't even get back in for 5 minutes. Last week, we did a show on Ebola. What happened? All of my numbers. We have tabulated numbers for our shows to tell us how many, callers call in, how many people are listening via the Internet. All of that was wiped to zero for 25 of my shows. I've been doing Center Stage since 2010. That has never happened. And so do I realize it's a subject that maybe the government doesn't want us to talk about? I get that. But I just kind of feel like the people at Ferguson tonight, I really do. I just, I questioned, not even doing a show tonight. I thought, you know what? They attacked my show last week. Maybe I just won't even do a show tonight. But, I feel like when I saw the protesters in Ferguson this week, and I saw those young ladies from Lost Voices, and they were committed to seeing change come in Ferguson, I thought, if they can do it, if they can have the courage to stand up and speak what they believe in, I can have the courage to speak on Ebola. They can't kill me but one time. And it looks like Ebola is out to kill us anyway. And so I just refuse to have a platform where I won't speak on real issues that affect us. And Ebola is one of those issues. 4,400 black people dead. Yeah, that's reason for me to be concerned. And I just decided tonight, God give me the courage, I'm going to do it. I'm absolutely going to talk about it, because I think if we're not careful, people of color won't know what happened until the bomb hits the house. Why is nobody in the media saying, colloidal silver cures Ebola? That's what the Nigerian people are using, and the cases of Ebola are almost to zero. Why did Chris Brown come out this week and say, hey, I think get something up with this depopulation stuff? And everybody made him out, to be crazy, and they ridiculed him. But I say ridicule today, praise tomorrow. So I say big ups to Chris Brown for being courageous enough to say what he said, because when you get through, I think he said it via Twitter, I think he's onto something, and I think he's absolutely right. It's all about depopulation. And, Mr. Serena Man, and I said I wasn't going to call his name again, is talking about it's all, Agenda 21 is not real. I advise everyone to understand and read Agenda 21. Agenda 21 was a summit that they held in Rio de Janeiro, where world leaders from across the world came together to decide every aspect of our life. Agenda 21 is basically how they plan to implement the New World Order. Well, my question tonight is it all about the fear factor, so we sign on to the New World Order? So,
well, I tell you what is for real, and that was my Project Megiddo. That was for real.
If you pronounce it right, I may know if I've heard of it or not. I've never heard of that.
Megiddo. Yes, that was for real.
MIG.
Because the FBI did target some organizations, and I seen the letter that they wrote to the Better Israel, Black Hebrews over in Dimona, Israel, apologizing.
Mm.
So that was a for real project. And Project 21, I don't know exactly what all Project 21 curtailed. Did it mention Jimmy Carter in there?
Wow. See,
I'll have to check on it.
I think Dr. Phil is on to something, and I don't watch him very often, but when I did used to watch him, he said something that I'll never forget. He said the best indicator of future behavior is past behavior. So if we say, what the government do with that bad, well, just go back to slavery. Go back to Jim Crow. Go back to the fact that everybody got reparations but us. Think about the Tuskegee, syphilis experiment. I mean, so when you look at history,
well, if people talk about doing race specific things, yes, they do that. That was revealed in the South Africa thing. Nobody never mentions that. They always want to talk about what the FBI does. It may not be people stateside that's talking this calamity. It may be somebody else. Dr. Basson attended conferences that was well attended by. He gave lectures at conferences that was well attended by as many as 200 people. So where is those 200 people, and what are they doing wherever they are, and what are their underlying motions? I was here in St. Louis one time. We was at a Monsanto plant doing some work. I think it was Monsanto Queenie plant. And one of their persons got on the elevator with us. We was going up or down, I don't remember. Somebody got to talking about what they was making. He mentioned that we got stuff we can just drop one drop here on the floor to kill everybody on here. And we got. Then he mentioned that they've got stuff that would only kill certain people.
This stuff is real. I mean, and we're not.
Yeah, all these people can't be lying.
Yeah.
In 1969, Richard Nixon had a meeting at Fort Detrick's where he made the announcement that the United States was going to get out of the business of offensive BCWs, biochemical weapons. But at the end of that article that I read, it said there was a few nations, including the United States, that was continuing projects on designing viruses. So, yes, I do think it's real. To what extent, I don't know.
You just made a good point, though. It may not necessarily be the government as we know it, but we know there's a group of elites. And when we say the elites, we're speaking of the 1%, that 1% that runs the world. If they have decided that, the world is overpopulated and that, they
would do it through the government. I ain't never known them to come right out and do things themselves. But the government do pay you. If you come up with something that would be of interest to them, well, they would fund your development of it. They have in the past.
Well, but you're right. The elitists would tell the government what to do because they run the world. They absolutely run the world. And so when you think of it in terms of, them thinking the world is overpopulated and they want to reserve the natural, minerals and everything, and they want to preserve the environment, they feel like, I hate to say it like this, that the 99% are bottom feeders. We haven't achieved what they've achieved, and so I think they would just like to live here, minus us. And so removing 9/10 of the world will do that.
Well, they couldn't live because they wouldn't have nobody to do the things that they need. They're not going to remove 9/10 of the world population.
But remember, they've been talking about robots for a minute. Remember, there's been much talk about robots replacing human functions. So that's not totally impossible. I don't know. And so I think what we got to do, though, another thing I've heard, and I don't have any research on this, haven't y'all heard of them building underground bunkers? Haven't y'all heard of them building bunkers? Yeah. There's tunnels already in place. I mean, they're already building them so that they have, let's just say, a place to go in the event of a bomb being dropped or, or some type of dirty bomb or something being dropped. They have a place to go. And so I think the rest of us are too busy twerking and watching reality shows and wrestling and all this other stuff.
Well, them people ain't going to do jack anyway.
Who?
The ones that you just mentioned.
I think you're naively saying that, and I think you should not say that.
People that's out twerking, people that's out twerking and watching reality shows, they already jacked up.
And I agree. There is going to be a segment of the population that will be lost. And I think anybody who's got their head in the sand today that's not paying attention, those are the people who are just going to be lost. And I don't mean the elderly, because they may not know. You know what I'm saying? They just may not be in tune to what's going on. But I think if you're above a certain age and you don't read nothing, all you do is watch TV and deal with foolishness, I think you just may be one of the lost. I mean, I really do.
I had some dreams this summer of a calamity. People was rushing, running, coming down steps, jumping over stuff, just running. And one time I had some dreams, it was dogs chased me. And I was running as hard as I can. I jumped up on these platforms just as one behind me snapped at me. Well, I did get away.
Are you a person that has dreams that come true?
Sometimes. But I have some dreams. It's like going to the movies.
Stop. Don't try to be serious.
It's true. I have dreams that's lively. Let's have things going on. But the ones that when you have a lot of mayhem and people rushing like that's a monster was in the street. I've had a couple of them.
See, but you know what? And I believe in dreams. And I believe they can have a lot of truth to them. I mean, I do. So I'm not going to discount that at all. But just something hit me as you were saying that. Remember 9/11? You know, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be transparent. 9/11 scared the heck out of me. I mean, it was one of the worst days of my life. I remember having to do business in Dallas, and I was living in the suburb of Dallas at the time. And I remember someone calling me at 8 o'clock in the morning going, turn on your TV. And I turned on the TV, and I saw what was happening, and I had to get to Dallas because of business. The magnitude of what had just happened didn't even register. And I remember driving 30 miles to Dallas and hardly seeing a car on the road, which rarely happens. And I took 3 freeways there and 3 freeways back, and normally that would be like crazy traffic, and it was hardly nothing. When I got to the company that I was going to do business with that day, everybody was in the back watching TV, and everybody was just glued to the TV. It still didn't register until I was able to get home, turn the TV on, and really look at what happened. And I was gripped with fear, and I found myself watching every channel for days. Everything that came on, I was waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, turning on the TV, trying to make sure that I hadn't missed anything. Until one time I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning and my mind was just racing. It was just racing. I was just gripped with fear. The first panic attack I'd ever had. And that's when I said to myself, I will never allow fear to grip me like that again. I decided if God can't handle it, I can't either. And I have never done that again. I don't watch news coverage repeatedly like that. But we believe 9/11. But there's some truthers out there now that are saying 9/11 didn't happen like we thought it happened. So
it did.
Now here we go. So if they do 9/11, I'm just saying, if 9/11 didn't really happen, and that had people, about to lose it, because they were gripped with so much fear. But I decided after that, that was bigger than me. If we had situations like that to happen again, that's bigger than me. If God can't handle it, neither can I. So, when we look at 9/11, when we look at slavery, when we look at Jim Crow, when we look at Tuskegee, we know that some evil has gone down in this country. And is it possible that it could go down again? Yeah, it's possible. And so is it all about fear? Are they trying to scare us to death so that we will sign on to the New World Order when they say sign here, or else we will be signing and begging them to basically rescue us from whatever's going on, what the next boogeyman. I don't know, do y'all remember under George Bush after 9/11, I would be driving down the freeways here, and it would be the terror alert that day was orange, and then the next day it'd be red, and the next day it'd be yellow. Hey, you remember that? Here in Texas, how the colors would change every day? It was crazy until I finally realized it was the color of the day. It wasn't the what was it? Al Qaeda wasn't coming to get us, but they were scaring the crap out of us with those different colors. And whenever they thought we were getting a little too comfortable, they take it back to high alert again, and everybody gets scared all over again. And then they, drop it down, and then they pull it back in again. And so that's what we're talking about tonight, y'all. Is it all about the fear factor? Listen, if you'd like to chime in tonight, get on the phone line. Dial us up at 347-850-8390. If you want to talk about Ebola or E68 or the influx of illegal aliens with, some of them, criminal past, some of them with disease, some of them with God knows what issues, coming across the border without consequences. We're talking about the alleged missing Nigerian girls. Some people are saying in Africa that those girls aren't missing, that was a hoax. So, we don't know. We know that there was allegedly a missing plane, Malaysian Airlines flight MH370. Where is it? We still don't know. And then we know that there was a Malaysian airliner that was shot down, a commercial airliner that was shot down over Ukraine. Who directed a commercial airliner into a war zone? Just too many questions, y'all.
That plane was supposed to have been flying at a certain altitude where it itself was beyond what they call a war zone. So, if you can fly at a certain altitude, what's the difference flying around one side or the other?
But I don't think I'm not flying at a certain altitude, and I don't think you're supposed to fly to a war zone, are you?
Well,
are you saying that they were?
You can fly above it.
I don't know. I don't even want to speculate on that. It just doesn't make sense that, I don't know, maybe that was the case, but I understood that they were flying over a restricted area that they should not have been in because that was a war zone.
But the plane is missing. I don't know what happened to it. Well, that plane crashed down, but the other one, 370, nobody haven't found that yet.
It's still missing. It's absolutely still missing. And so, that along with the fact that across the country, why is it across the country we're seeing police shootings like crazy? We're seeing police incidents where they're more violent and more aggressive than they've ever been before. What is going on? And nobody ever goes to jail. All you see is that they get paid vacations for God knows how long. Darren Wilson in Ferguson, I think he's still on paid leave. Is he, P. I think he's still on paid leave. And
well, if he's found guilty, he should be made to pay all that money back.
But first of all, why are you paying it off to begin with? How about
Well, that's agreement between the police department and the union. But I said before, if he's found guilty, he should be made to pay that money back, even if it's taken out of some fringe benefits that he's accrued. Need to be prosecuted. Need to put liens on his property.
Well, why would you pay somebody who wouldn't even file a police report? Seriously, that's part of your job. Why would you pay somebody paid leave when they didn't even radio in that someone had been shot? That makes no sense to me. Why would you pay someone who didn't even call the EMTs for a man who had been shot 6 times? And so when you get through, it's just nothing about that makes sense. But when you look at all the shootings and the police, basically stops that have turned fatal, whether that be through a chokehold like Eric Garner or a shooting like Mike Brown, it's not making any sense that there's absolutely no consequences, that these officers are put on paid leave. Then instead of going through the due process that you or I would go through if we shot or killed someone, why is it that, they have to go through whether or not they're going to be indicted? So we go through that whole, how about you be charged and then let the courts decide whether or not you're charged fairly or not? How about they do it that way?
I don't know.
How did we ever allow that to happen? It's a different set of rules. It's absolutely a different set of rules for police versus civilians, and it should not be that way. I think if you kill someone, whether that's accidentally or if you kill someone on purpose, you still should go through the same process. And I think that's where the train is ran over into the ditch and officers are walking repeatedly after cases of police brutality because we were giving them the benefit of the doubt, whereas you and I, they say we're innocent until proven guilty, but in actuality, we're treated like we're guilty until we're proven innocent. But the cops are absolutely given, that grace every single time, and it should not be that way. And all of these, like we're talking about tonight, all of these situations, nobody's ever going to the table and going to the, before a court and answering to how somebody died or why somebody died. This is happening too often, and at the end of the day, it's because we are allowing it. And Bianchi, I think at the end of the day, my conclusion to all of this tonight isn't about the fear factor. It's about the fear factor because we allow it. And in my lifetime, I'll be honest with you, y'all, I didn't see people stand up until I saw Ferguson in my whole lifetime. I've seen us march. I've seen us say we will overcome, and then I've seen us go home every single time. And for the first time, when I saw Ferguson, I couldn't even believe people had that kind of courage because in my whole lifetime I haven't seen it. The only thing that Ferguson is missing is a serious boycott of some major outlets. But besides that, they've done everything that no other movement has done. Would you agree with that, Bianchi, that they've been more courageous than any movement in my lifetime anyway?
No. You guys didn't experience no racism today.
We did or we didn't?
No, you have not.
I don't know, Bianchi. I think it's a new type of racism, but we're experiencing racism. I do.
Yeah,
especially since President Obama has gotten into office. Yes, we're going backwards. Yes, we are. And wouldn't you say we've experienced racism in our lifetime?
Oh, he's young as you, so you don't see it.
Well, see, what they did as far as what's going on is they alleviated the necessity. They call it being politically correct. So you can say anything about anybody at any time as long as you're politically correct. So it makes it all right. It means you're not racist. So the things that they're saying and trying to roll back I'm saying just in the political process, there's a lot of racism going on. I'm saying blatant. And it's like nobody seems to notice, I guess. I'm not sure.
Ain't no racism.
I beg to differ with you. I think today, it's a different type of way it's done, but the meaning is still the same. I do. I think the meaning is absolutely the same, and I think since President
you can get
Obama
in your car and drive any place you want to practically in the United States. In the daytime, less long nighttime.
Until the police decide to pull me over for driving while black.
And you can get out and go into the bathroom and use it. Get you something to eat.
You don't think there's subtle forms of racism today? Are you serious? They're everywhere.
I keep telling you, you're not experiencing no racism like what racism is. You ain't lived long enough. What are you going to compare it with?
Didn't we just see the situation, I forgot what part of the country, where the kids couldn't get into the pool because they were black?
That's a private pool. They should have had you couldn't get in the private pool then. But you can get in the public pool. You couldn't get in the public pool back then. You can now.
But I'm just saying, those kids, these were
black men are even dating and marrying and having sex with white women.
They've been doing that forever. The slave masters.
No, not like they can walk down the street and have his hand all over and painting a booty and everything else. Don't nobody lynch him nowadays.
You know what? The courtroom is a new lynching. Come on now. They got more sophisticated with it, okay? They either lynch you through,
They ain't lynching nobody. What black man lately been lynched for marrying a white woman? Or dating a white girl? Or having sex with a white girl? standing up on the street kissing and feeling out on a white girl.
They lynch you to the court system. They lynch you to the court system.
Well, it's how you court. You go to court when you do something wrong, break the law. That's not breaking the law.
Well, that's not correct. See, everything else you said, I let it slide, but that right there is not correct.
No.
So kissing and hugging and pinching on a white woman's butt is breaking the law and marrying her.
No. When you say the court system, if I understand, I'm saying you.
Heck, you got black judges. You just had what's that guy? He just received life in prison for killing that black kid.
Okay.
That's that was unheard of.
Okay, but you know what? We're getting off subject a little bit, but I think what we got to realize though, PNP, you know, it's a different type of racism, but the racism is still the same. And so, you know, we can't.
No, it is not the same.
Oh wow! I'm not gonna have that conversation on this show, but we'll have it on the future show. But I won't do that. We're gonna talk about fear factor.
Yeah, have
tonight.
it on a future show and invite me. I like somebody to show me. Can't nobody show you. You know you can't miss nothing. You can't miss anything you ain't never had.
Okay, again, we're gonna reserve that for a future show. But,
all right.
But back to subject. If it's about the fear factor, if they are trying to scare us into signing on to the New World Order, you know, in the Bible, for those who are Christians, you know, they talk about the mark of the beast. Either you sign or, you know, something bad's going to happen to you. Are we getting ready to go to a time? I mean, are we heading there? It just seems like they're shutting down all.
No, they've been talking about the end of the world. They've been talking about the New World Order since back in the 1700s. At least the 1800s.
But have you ever been this close? I think Jay-Z said in the song, "The world is under new management." I agree. And for all those people who think this is about President Obama, this isn't about President Obama. Because when you get through, one black man could not have done all this. So, you know, everybody I see all over the Internet where President Obama is being blamed for everything. That man could not have thought of all this stuff in 6 years if he wanted to. You know, so just to blame him blankly for everything that's gone wrong in this country, that's just crazy. That is just crazy. I mean, whoever thought of this has been thinking about it for a long time. To even roll out some of this stuff and get it going, it took years, decades, to put some of this stuff in the making. So for everybody that wants to blame President Obama, and I'm not his cheerleader or anything like that, but I'm just making a point. That's just ridiculous, you know. But that's another thing we see. We've never seen a president disrespected like we see this president disrespected. And I just say, you know, you got to respect the office if you don't respect the man. And we just see too often in this country, it's just, you know, everything is blamed on him. There's no way in the world President Obama thought of Ebola. There's no way in the world. And I'm not calling him a man who's unintelligent because, you know, obviously he is.
Well, they were talking about Ebola before Obama was anywhere around. So, no, whoever's saying that is crazy.
Yeah, but like you said, everything is blamed on him. And you know, E68 and, you know, police brutality, that's not on the president. You know, so every problem we got
Police brutality is a state issue unless you violate somebody's civil rights, then it's a federal issue. That's why people bring in the Justice Department and FBI for investigation. That's a good thing. They didn't have that back in them days, and y'all calling it racism.
But see, when you look at police brutality, we know in so many cases lately,
you can stop police brutality today when you couldn't do it back then. All you got to do is revise the law.
But you keep saying that, but nobody's doing it. You know,
that's because their focus is on emotions and trying to convince somebody that they're supposed to do right. Well, they are. They're doing according to what the law, what the policies is in the department, and the policies are made upon the leaders of the department's interpretation of the law. This interpretation is flawed because the law is flawed. It needs to be changed. It needs to be revised.
But you said your own state senator won't touch it. Did you say that?
Because of politics, don't seem like they've been working on something. They got the felony box removed off of city jobs applications when people apply for them.
Mm-hmm.
They got some other things changed, but that needs to be changed too. Black and whites need to work to get that changed.
But you know what? All of it, first of all, and I'm going to put this out there because, you know, what I see, you know, in social media and I see in other places is, you know, everybody is gripped with so much fear. And the fear is about, I don't want to lose my house, I don't want to lose my car, you know, I got it good right now, so I don't want to mess that up. But in reality, what do you really have good if somebody has got something in the air that could take your life tomorrow? I mean, if you don't speak up now, then when? I mean, when do you see it being a time to stand up and say, you know what, I'm going to stand for something, I'm going to fall for anything. And I think right now is the time. And I've never really been, you know, in activism like I will be in the future. And I mean the very, very near future, because I think I see it as a time now that waiting for somebody else to do it, like we've done it so often, we're always waiting for the line to start, and then we're going to jump in, or we'll wait for somebody else with the right name to jump in, then we're going to jump in. I think those days are over. I think waiting for anybody to save you other than yourself is a crazy thing. I think the only person I know that can save me is me and Jesus.
And well, that's part of your problem there, right there. You going good that you mentioned that. But anyway, I'm getting ready to go to bed, for I'm scared to turn the lights out for fear Freddy Krueger is going to come through the window.
Hey, but you know what? You shouldn't feel like that, P.A. You know what? You know and I know this boogeyman is not real. And you know and I know that a lot of this is fake.
Who, Freddy Krueger?
No. See? P.A. is atheist, by the way, so if y'all confused as to what he just said, it's because P.A. doesn't believe in Jesus. So that's what that comment is about. But you know what, P.A., you know what I say to people who are atheists, and I know a lot of atheists. My thing is this. Who do you go to when this stuff gets deep? Who do you go to when you're trying to figure out how are you going to live through Ebola or whatever else that they're going to put out there? Who do you go to?
When what stuff gets deep? Heck, it can't get no more deeper than the church itself.
See? And that sounds like an atheist. But I mean, really though, a lot of people are snapping. I mean, seriously, snapping because of fear. Out of all.
Well, you know, I'm gonna tell you something. If Jesus came next Monday and took all his believers away, then there wouldn't be no Ebola.
Okay, wait a minute. I'm sorry, I can't wrap my mind around that. Can you, rewind and do that one more time? If Jesus came tomorrow and took all of his believers away,
yeah,
there wouldn't be.
Wouldn't have to worry about no Ebola.
Why is that?
Because some of them are Ebola. They're worse than Ebola.
We're going to make it about the Christian. No, and that's a very sincere question, though. Who are you taking all your...
Ebola will follow them and will go right along with them.
But see, P.A., you being real flip about it. How do you handle all the stresses of all these things that we talked about? ISIS. You know, we're seeing videos where ISIS is allegedly going to cut off somebody's head, but we don't see the head getting cut off. We see a slice, and then we see, some stuff that maybe looks like a beheading took place. But a lot of people are freaking out about ISIS. ISIS has not moved me one bit because I consider ISIS to be the new Al-Qaeda. So whatever it is about that, it has never even registered. We've never even covered it on the show because I don't believe it or perceive it to be real. That's just me, and I might be wrong.
Well, I don't worry about ISIS because I'm not going over there. Those people that got their heads off shouldn't have had their butts over there. One was a disguised Jew. That's how crazy is that? So they warn you about the citizens, and the government shouldn't spend any money to rescue those people. They had no business going over there. For every person that climb up a tree, every person climb up the side of a mountain, you supposed to use taxpayers' money to rescue them? They need to have a fund so they can have their own rescue entity.
But no, I'm sorry, but ISIS threatening to make threats against coming over here and doing things?
Why would they want to come? Why would they want to come over here?
Because
Everything that they against goes on here. Same-sex marriage, men feeling and kissing on men, women too, having sex with dogs, transgender recognition. You go to school in the morning, you're a boy. Come home in the evening, you're a girl. They don't like that. Well, what they coming over? Would you go someplace where something is buck wild that you don't like?
But I don't
think
think
about
it's about. But I don't think it's about the fact that they don't like how we live over here. I think it's the fact that ISIS has a problem with the U.S., so they made threats to come over here and do things to us. I don't think it's about what you said.
I ain't heard. I think they say leave us alone. That's
what
Ron Paul said.
You know what? Let's just say this. Between missing planes, ISIS, Ebola, E-68, illegal aliens crossing the border, all of these things, the missing girls, when you get through, that's causing fear on a lot of people, causing a lot of anxiety, a lot of concern. And in my opinion, if we put it together and we just look at each situation for what it is, none of it makes sense. And the question is, why doesn't any of it make sense? If they all legitimately went down just like they went down, why don't they add up at the end of the day?
Maybe people are starting to think logically.
But you know, how do you start somebody to think logically when they're watching the news? You can't think logically and watch the news.
Well, you have to pick another form of entertainment. Watch Murray. Jerry Springer. Watch Murray. You are not the father.
Pianki is not getting it tonight. Yeah, I don't know why Pianki's not getting it tonight. Pianki, you know, and I know that's not the answer. Most people turn on the news.
If you don't want to be scared out of your wits by the media, watch something else.
Yeah. Because you know what, the news, in my opinion, is so watered down. If you get the news, and you set your background. If you get your news,
that sound like that Kruger guy. He's trying to cut his head off. Sound like a dull knife trying to cut a neck. The neck bone.
If you listen to the news, and I've done it the last couple of days, just for this story. If I watch the news and I take just the portion that they give me, I'm scared to death. But then if I take and I look at the whole story from different avenues here on the internet, the story is not all filled in from what I just listened to on the news. So that means that they are creating a narrative that they want you to believe. You know what I'm saying? And so why is that? Why are they leaving portions out? Why don't they tell you that Nigeria is using colloidal silver? Why don't they tell you? They'll tell you that. Why don't they tell you that people in Africa are saying that those girls weren't actually missing, that there's more to that story? They don't tell you that.
Well, they're supposed to be negotiating to get them, and they reach some agreement where they're going to turn those girls back over to the Nigerian authorities. Then I think after they do that, the Nigerian authorities are going to kill them. That sounds like for real somebody. That sounds like the police is chasing somebody.
What can you say? Background. I don't know what that is. But how do you want to? Okay, let's just say hypothetically the people over there are right. The Nigerian people are saying that the girls are not really missing. That's a hoax. So how are you going to turn over something that's
I don't say missing? They think. I never heard the authorities say that the girls were not missing. I heard the news come out said that the negotiations going on where the girls will be returned.
But the Nigerian people are saying it was a hoax. Did they not say that?
Well, some did, but
Okay. See, my thing is the whole picture.
I'm not over there.
Then I'm not either. But if there's stories coming out that's saying that, that's still something worth looking at. And so let's just look at why have we sent 3,000 troops to the Liberian area. Why do we need troops on the ground to fight Ebola when they need healthcare workers and they need gloves?
They put the troops over there to help put up field hospitals, field isolation units, and treatment units.
But you sent them over there without any bleach, any gloves, and any goggles? Are you serious?
No, they got all this stuff.
See, that's not true. This is not. We're talking about.
Well, the video I seen showed them. They not working with patients anyway. They're just putting up the units, and they're taking some precautions even as they do that.
But did we put them over there for different reasons other than that? Because I don't know that it was crucial to get troops on the ground as it was to get medical aid over
what
there.
What other reason they gonna put them over there for? The United States control Liberia. Ain't nothing. What's the takeover? Who you gonna take over? A place don't even have no doctors. Don't have no running water. So what's the takeover? It's already over.
Let's just say this: if you got troops over there, you can call in martial law, which they've already done over there in Guinea. If you got troops on the ground, you can quarantine people. I mean,
well, they should, but they should be quarantined if they showing symptoms of having contracted this virus.
Okay.
They got 12 quarantine areas here in the United States and Honolulu.
But when they quarantine them, are they going to force them to take vaccinations? You have to look at all of this, the whole picture. It's a reason those people are running from help. I mean, you know what I'm saying? People coming in and offering help, and yet the people are running from them. What would make a person, fighting a disease run away from it?
That's ignorance. That's ignorance. Oh. There's certain elements of ignorance that exist in every society. You hear a lot of BTRs.
I disagree. Just completely. I think this, Bianchi. I think the way you're looking at it is from a very naive standpoint. I think you're assuming that everything is well, and you know better because you know that they can't get shipments of colloidal silver over to Liberia. Why is that? I mean, there's got to be.
I don't know. I told you let's try that out and let's see. And, I had a Nigerian woman call me this morning. I should have asked her that. I didn't ask her.
Well, why don't we ask her?
Maybe I catch it.
Well, I'm not willing to go to jail to send colloidal silver over there because I understand that they're stopping all shipments of colloidal silver from coming in there, period. That's what I understand. So I'm not going to jail to send colloidal silver.
I don't think it is. So I told her, let's send some over there and see what happens. You said Nigeria. You didn't say Liberia.
No, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me back up. Nigeria said that they successfully curing Ebola with colloidal silver. Liberia is the one that's blocking shipments. The World Health Organization is blocking shipments of colloidal silver. I tell you what,
let's send some over there.
I'll send you some money on it. You send it from your house. Listen, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in no federal agents coming to my house.
I keep telling you. The closer y'all get to freedom, the more excuses you come up with for not going to it.
AJ, listen, can we ship the colloidal silver from your address?
Yeah, you said from mine, huh?
We'll send all the money to AJ. AJ will send the colloidal silver.
But we need an address to send it to.
Say what?
We need an address to send it to.
Well, I'm sorry. Did you just say you talked to somebody in Liberia, Bianchi?
No, I didn't say I talked to somebody. I said you identify somebody and we'll send it to them.
I thought you said you just talked to a lady from Liberia today.
I said Nigeria.
Oh, Nigeria. Okay. So listen, we're gonna make this call out to the audience. If anybody knows anybody in Liberia who's concerned about Ebola, give us their address or have them contact us via Center State. Well, I'm sorry. What's your address? What's your email address? Let's send it to email. What's your email address? See, he's not willing to give it out. Anyway, contact the show at centerstageradio@yahoo.com, and I'll get the message to Pianki. So Pianki and AJ can organize a shipment of Kaleido silver and some gloves and gowns and all that other stuff to go over to Liberia. Is that a deal? Okay.
Yeah, I told you I'd do that last week, 2 weeks ago. You done got scared all of a sudden.
Because you know what? I'm just not interested in a knock at a door from some folks in some suits talking about, Kheri, we want to talk to you. I just don't want to do that. I'm just not feeling that right now. And so I'm just a little concerned that, it may be just a little bit more political than we think it is. The more and more I do these shows, when my numbers got blacked out last week, when my computer blacked out the week before, I'm just a little bit more concerned now, and asking people, you see them on the streets, you say Ebola, they look like they want to run. And so it's just really getting very hairy, let's just say that. And so for that reason, I say that, But I would like to help. I would like anybody, as a matter of fact, let me make an all call. Anybody who knows how to make that happen, please let us know, because we are concerned. And we do want to know whether or not Kaleido silver can successfully get to Liberia, to Guinea, to Sierra Leone. We do want to know. And so, in all seriousness, if anybody knows how to make that happen, if anybody knows someone in that region who would like for that to happen or would like for us to make that happen, just contact us. AJ Houston, what's your email address, AJ?
AJ Word Artist at yahoo.com.
AJ Word Artist at yahoo.com. Yahoo.com. And so, we like to see it happen. I mean, because, at the end of the day, I am more concerned than ever that if this thing doesn't get a cap on it in West Africa, we are just, 30 days away, possibly, even less in some cases, from it being, very serious over here. AJ and I are in the Dallas area. There's already, 3 cases already here. So we have great reason to be concerned. And, in reality, we all do, because it just takes one plane trip, or somebody crossing from one city to the next to just spread this thing. And so that's my concern, y'all. I mean, I just don't know how to put that any clearer, that I'm very concerned, being here in Dallas. Every time somebody looks like they want to sneeze, or stands too close to me in line, I'm concerned. And
they're going to get you.
It makes you very antisocial. I'll be honest with you. I mean, a man was standing behind me in line.
What you doing, bumping elbows now?
No, this guy was standing behind me in line, I kid you not, and I turned around and I looked at him, and he just looked at me like he was concerned about why I turned around the way that I did, and I said, before I knew it, I said, it's an Ebola thing, and I don't want you standing too close to me. And I didn't mean to say it, just came out, because that was on my brain, that was he standing too close on my shoulder. And that's because it's here in Dallas and it's real, and we don't know if it's airborne. And I think, the CDC, the health department here, they have just not done enough to make me feel comfortable that we know the right protocol. I mean, nobody's wearing surgical masks here, but I definitely feel like I want to wear one, but I just don't want to look,
That sounds good to me, but I'm getting ready to cut out of here.
Well, bye. Thank you. Thank you for chiming in tonight.
All right, when you get that line up, let me know.
I am. And again, if anybody knows, anybody in Liberia who we can send some Kaleido silver to, we want to do that. But tonight, so I'm going to close out. We're probably going to close out a little early tonight, because I think we've made this point about what's going on repeatedly now. We've made it, I think, for the last 3 weeks. Something's not right. We don't know what it is, but something's not right. It doesn't make sense. Nothing's adding up, in terms of why is it that we're seeing these high body counts, through police brutality, fatal shootings. We're seeing situations like Eric Garner and Mike Brown. Nobody's going to jail. We see cases of 4,400 people dead from Ebola. Nobody going to jail. We see cases of children dying from E68. Nobody going to jail. Situations of missing girls or alleged missing girls in Nigeria, nothing's being done. Missing planes, just disappearing out of the sky, nothing's being done. And so when you take into account what those numbers look like for all those people that are just gone missing, just dead, just gone, and nobody's being indicted, that should tell you somebody's got an agenda somewhere. And so if the Georgia Guidestones would sit in Elbert County, Georgia, up on a hilltop, as that some people wish that the population was reduced to under 500 million people, which would be 9/10 of our population. Are they doing things to make it happen? And one of the things on the Guidestones, don't be a cancer. Don't be a cancer. And it's as though I interpret that as saying, I don't know, it's almost as though they're saying if you haven't achieved what we have achieved, you're not a success. You're a failure. So therefore, rather than continue to take up space, to take up air, you should just be gone, which, most of us will look at that as being very arrogant. But obviously there are some people who've decided that they're gods and that they have the right to basically determine who lives or dies. And if you go to YouTube, which we've mentioned this, I think 2 weeks in a row, Bill Gates has a YouTube video on, and I forgot the name of it, but it's about population or depopulation of the earth. And he's speaking of something called CO2. I think it goes, the formula is CO2 times P times E times S times, and you'll know it when you see it. It's about 3 minutes long on YouTube. And he's talking about this formula. And when he gets through talking about the formula, he says one of these needs to get to near zero. And the audience just gasped. He's talking at some convention, and he's talking about depopulation. Well, this is a man who has a vaccine company. So my question is, why would I want a vaccine from a man, from the company of a man who thinks that depopulation is a good thing? Just use some common sense, y'all. I'm like I said, I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm not, someone who, professes to be brilliant, but that's just common sense. And so are we looking at a situation where Ebola may take us to a point where we have to be vaccinated? And if that's the case, can we trust the vaccination? That's the question. I'm gonna leave it there and let y'all figure it out. AJ, any closing comments before we get out of here tonight?
No, I was sitting here. I muted my phone because I was laughing because I just couldn't take the comments my man was making, and it was just really on the funny side. I wasn't trying to be funny. I'm like, I didn't know what to say to most of the stuff he was saying. I really didn't. But my comment is that. Now you say what, Kheri? Now you say you think what?
No, I think go ahead and finish.
No, I was saying my comment is that anything that you don't know, try and find out for yourself. Look and search for the information, because, all we can do is give you the bounds of information that we've looked through, but that may not all be the truth. Because right now it's hard to find the truth with so many different sources to look for. And I think that's the game. The game is, let's make it hard to find the truth, and that way nobody would know what the truth is.
I agree with that. I think AJ just hit on an excellent point. I think so much of this is just about, you searching out the truth for yourself. And believe that none of what you see, half of what you hear, or none of what you hear, half of what you see. It's all about research now. It's to the point that, there's some news outlets that I absolutely trusted up until I saw the Ferguson story. And I saw a news outlet that I absolutely thought was the gospel recently do some stuff on Ferguson that I knew they knew better on. And that's when I really, really knew. I think sometimes, I just found it hard to really believe that they would really water the news down as much as they did. But I saw them water down Ferguson and misconstrue stories about Ferguson that let me know only what you've researched for yourself can you count on. And so I would suggest to anybody who's wondering, where do we go from here? The first thing I say is fear is not of God. And second of all, I think Lindsay Williams, who's done this show many times, has said everybody needs to put their spiritual house in order. And I think once somebody puts your spiritual life or spiritual life in order, fear is not something that grips you anymore. Because, you know, if I die tonight, to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord, because I absolutely believe that I'm a Christian and that I'm on my way. So I'm not living in that kind of fear anymore. I refuse to be gripped with fear. Like I told you, after 9/11, I swore I'd never watch a news series over and over and over again, because that's not good for the mind. And secondly, fear breaks down the immune system, absolutely breaks down the immune system. And so talking about Ebola, colloidal silver is what I'm taking. And if anybody's interested in what I'm taking colloidal silver. Colloidal silver, from what we understand, cures Ebola. It kills bacteria. It kills yeast. I think it's good for cancer, so many things. You can Google that on the Internet for yourself. But I also take a probiotic because I understand that it can wipe out all the bacteria in your colon, and you don't want it all gone. You want the good bacteria to stay. So I take a probiotic, and I take colloidal silver, and I also take noni juice. And I call myself a halfway healthy person anyway. And so that's how I'm planning to fight Ebola. You know, eating right and taking those supplements, that's how I plan to do it. And I suggest to you, do your own research. Do your own research about colloidal silver, probiotics, the whole 9 yards. And, you know, be safe and be prayerful, and the rest is on God. It's just, you know, after I've done everything I can do, you know, I look to God to do the rest. But we got to get out of here. Listen, this is what we do each and every Friday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Central, 9 to 11 Eastern. We're right here at Center Stage, bringing you topics that other talk shows shy away from. So tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a coworker, family member to check out the show from 8 to 10 p.m. Central, 9 to 11 Eastern, each and every Friday night. Also, if you'd like to see us do a certain show, drop us a line at centerstageradio@yahoo.com. That's centerstageradio@yahoo.com. And if it's a show that's in line with the type of shows that we do, we'll definitely entertain it. So, again, drop us a line at centerstageradio@yahoo.com. Okay, y'all, we got to get out of here. But, again, as I said earlier in the show, if God can't fix it, I sure can. Okay, y'all, see you next week. Bye-bye.